माइंड को यूज़ नहीं करती है. In a way, soul and mind cannot be separated. At the same time, soul is not the ego mind that it has believed itself to be. It is like when the soul believes itself to be a narrow perspective. For example, there's a feeling of sadness or unhappiness or temporary happiness. Soul embodies that thought to be itself, right? And when the soul embodies that thought to be itself, soul becomes that thought. Yeah? And that is what we call ego mind. True? So to really understand that mind is something which is part of the soul, thoughts are also coming from the mind which is inside of the soul. But soul is not these thoughts. It's a container for these thoughts. Yeah? And believing oneself to be that container, soul actually becomes that thought. And what Baba is telling us that let go of this old mind, which is the scripted mind where the drama is fixed, where thoughts are coming spontaneously on their own because they're part of the script. Let go of that mind, but use my mind, right? It's like kind of surrender your mind to me. And now once I, the being, have surrendered my mind to him, what that means is I'm using the pure mind of God. So I'm using the pure mind of God to communicate. Also, my own mind is also now with Baba. It's not belonging to me. So anything that is from the old scripted matter, that is all the old sanskaras, which are also residing in the subconscious mind, in a way they're still there, but I'm not owning them as mine or me. So when the thoughts and feelings come based on that, I'm not using it as mine or me. I'm disowning them. I don't own them, but not out of rejecting them, but knowing that that's not my property anymore. It's Baba's. It belongs to Baba now because I've surrendered the mind to God. It looks like it's like I am kind of giving something separate from me. It's all part of the soul also. Yeah, I know this is where something needs to be kind of seen clearly. It's like I am surrendering the old ways of thinking, old ways of believing, knowing to be me to Baba. Right? So that way we are kind of keeping the ego mind, which believes itself to be, again, it's not something separate from the soul. It is part of the soul. But when I'm saying, Baba, I give it to you, I don't own it anymore, it just means that I, the being, am completely anything that it brings up, I'm not going to believe it to be mine anymore. Now I'm using Baba's mind, and even that mind that was given to Baba, it's still there with me, but I'm just not taking ownership of it. And now I'm using it as a trustee, right? So it's like now my mind and Baba's mind has become one because I don't own it anymore, so it's become one. So now I'm again using the same mind, but only with Baba's thoughts, Baba's feelings, Baba's sanskars as mine. And if anything else that comes up in that mind, it's not mine, it's Baba's. So we are using the pure mind, and we always say in the class, pure mind and the soul is the same. There's really no difference because pure mind is embodying the soul's qualities. It's part of the soul and it's embodying the soul's qualities. We can't really separate, but we do for our understanding, which is why Baba also separates the ego mind from the soul. He calls it Maya, he calls it old mind, he calls it mind which has become the master of the soul. That's what he calls it, right? But it's actually part of the soul. But at this time, we get a chance to really become absolutely self-sovereign and free from the old nature of the thinking mind. Yeah? And that's the tool that we need for the sake of drama, to keep it simple. Yeah? Hope that answers the question, and know that we are using Baba's pure mind, which is now my mind is also with Baba, and it's now one with Baba's mind. And now that mind I'm using to communicate with Baba. Yeah, and yes, of course, we do communicate. Otherwise, I mean, it's a relationship with God. And in a relationship, you communicate. Without communication, how can you have a relationship? In fact, this is the best use of the mind, is to communicate with God. And in that, mind gets purified. And that's what Baba is telling us, that you, the soul, disentangle from the old mind. Give it to me. And I will now, it's in a way, Baba is using that mind to communicate with me. Or you can say, I'm using God's mind to communicate. It's quite technically, don't look at it in a technical way, but look at it as in a very I would say, just see how it all flows with Baba. You can't really separate, and yet you have to. It's like, you know how Baba is always talking in paradox. It is another paradox, and that's the best way to see it. It's like when you let go of the control, you actually control the drama. In that sense, that when I let go of the drama's control, that's why we always see that there are two tracks. One track is if I'm believing myself to be the thought that I am this person, this body, this name, this form, this role, whatever I believe myself to be, then the track opens up in a different way in the drama. When I know myself to be, I am a being like my Father, and I, the being, has no other desires other than being with the Father, then the track of the drama opens up in a different way. So you can see it as two tracks, yeah? And you can decide when God comes, then you have the option to use the other track. Otherwise, you don't even have that option. So Baba gives us this option to go beyond the part, to go beyond our own internal drama, beyond the mind, which has the scripted part recorded, and really follow his directions. And that opens up the drama on a different track. And yes, that too is recorded, who will and who will not do it. That too is recorded. I hope it answered the question. Let me